The hype around Umar Nurmagomedov came crashing down in wild fashion after his recent loss to Merab Dvalishvili at UFC 311. Heading into the fight, it was billed as a showdown between two seasoned grapplers, with Umar expected to have the edge in striking. But as the battle dragged into the final minutes, it became a battle of who had more left in the gas tank. And as the world watched, Umar simply couldn't keep up with Merab's relentless cardio. Still, the fight went the full distance, leaving the decision in the hands of the judges. But given all the hype around Umar, what if I told you there's a fighter who doesn't let things drag out? A fighter who doesn't leave it up to the judges? A fighter who flat out knocks Umar out cold? His name? Sean O'Malley? In case you forgot who Sean O'Malley is, let me remind you, before his fight with Merab, he was the most dangerous man in the bantamweight division. The only loss on his record? A fluke injury that left him unable to defend himself against Chito Vera's attacks. Nobody saw that fight ending the way it did. A freak accident stole the spotlight and handed Chito the perfect opportunity to snatch the knockout win.
Broke his foot now, and that's what it was. And it looks like the similar thing has happened here.
Something's wrong. Could be.
You just don't know. We'll have to ask him. You get to ask him in a minute.
That reminds me of...
People thought that loss would be the start of O'Malley's downfall, but instead of breaking him, it only fueled his fire. After that upset, he became nearly untouchable, tearing through the bantamweight division with ease. And when he started winning too often, the critics came knocking, claiming he'd struggle against elite grapplers. But O'Malley didn't just talk, he let his fists do the talking. And when he stepped into the octagon against Aljamain Sterling, he silenced every doubt in spectacular fashion. On fight night in Boston, O'Malley made Sterling look completely out of it. From the start, he was sharp, quick on his feet, and constantly moving, using his elite footwork to close the distance and create openings for damage. There was always a sense that O'Malley was just waiting for the right moment to strike. And in the second round, that moment came. A slip nearly cost him as Sterling went in for a takedown, but O'Malley stuffed it with ease.
Earlier leg attack for Aljamain Sterling here. O'Malley doing a good job of attacking his wrist, not allowing your opponent to get to a takedown.
He ended the fight in brutal fashion. A perfectly timed counter sent Sterling crashing to the mat, and O'Malley wasted no time following up with vicious ground and pound. He continued to rack up victories against opponents who could both strike and wrestle, proving time and again that he was a well-rounded threat in the bantamweight division.
Sterling on it.
But if there was ever a fight that showed O'Malley at his absolute deadliest, it was his second matchup with Chito Vera. That fight was the perfect revenge. O'Malley turned Vera into his punching bag, controlling the entire fight with precision and power. It was nothing short of remarkable that Vera managed to survive all 5 rounds. Then, of course, came the highly anticipated showdown with Merab. The hype around this fight was exactly what you'd expect. Huge. Merab was, without a doubt, one of the most dangerous fighters in the division, and had proven himself battle-tested against the likes of Peter Yan and Henry Cejudo. However, Merab had one thing that made him an absolute nightmare to face: his insane cardio. When you combine that with his elite takedown skills, crazy stuff. Throughout their fight, Merab's relentless pace and non-stop pressure constantly kept O'Malley on his toes, never letting him settle into his rhythm. Despite all that, O'Malley's brilliance still shone through. Merab couldn't get anywhere close to finishing the fight, only managing to steal the win via a unanimous decision. Since then, O'Malley had been largely quiet, taking the time to regroup. Meanwhile, Merab moved on, defending his title against the hyped-up Umar Nurmagomedov. Behind all the hype, not many had truly seen what Umar Nurmagomedov could bring to the table before his fight with Merab. But as with most Nurmagomedovs, there was no doubt about his skill. He was undefeated and had been dominating opponents. Umar was quickly becoming the boogeyman of the bantamweight division, the fighter no one wanted to face. When Merab made it clear he didn't want to fight him, or at least didn't care who his next opponent was, fans were quick to jump on him, accusing him of ducking, calling him a coward. The moment the fight was officially announced, the hype was real. Fans were finally getting the matchup they'd been waiting for. A worthy opponent who could match Merab's grappling and was even seen as being superior to him in the striking department. When the fight finally went down, it wasn't Umar who was impressing the crowd with his striking game. Instead, it was Merab who found a way to keep Umar busy and on his heels all night.
Good job, the combination there. Just throws forward by Merab. Umar shoots. Great takedown defense by Merab.
Despite both fighters being incredibly talented, it was Merab's cardio that proved to be the deciding factor. As the final round approached and both men had emptied much of their gas tanks, it was Merab who still had plenty of energy to spare. He dragged Umar around, outworking him in the last minutes. Merab exposed the cracks in Umar's game and showed the world that, despite the hype, he wasn't invincible. By the end, the once feared Umar was no longer a dominant force. He had been turned into just another fighter.
What a bantamweight championship fight! Umar Nurmagomedov!
What a
and
fight!
Neutralizes will.
Still, while Merab couldn't get the job done inside 5 rounds, there's one man who will, and his name is Suga Sean O'Malley. First, let's talk about striking. If you look at Umar's career, his 2 knockout wins are the only knockouts on his entire MMA record. When compared to O'Malley, it's clear Umar doesn't have the same kind of knockout power or striking precision. From his time on the Contender Series, O'Malley was already wowing Dana White and the entire UFC community with his insane striking abilities. Once he made his UFC debut, it became clear that O'Malley wasn't just a good striker, he was one of the best in the organization. O'Malley's striking isn't limited to just kicks, his punches are sharp, accurate, and more importantly, deadly. So when you look at it from a pure stand-up standpoint, O'Malley completely dominates the striking game. Now, let's look at wrestling because I know some of you might be thinking Umar has the edge there, but what if I told you O'Malley isn't a fighter who can just be easily dominated on the ground? Did you know O'Malley is actually a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt under Augusto Mendes? It's crazy how people tend to overlook this. We all know trying to outstrike Sean O'Malley is a losing game. Peter Yan figured that out early on and switched to grappling.
Gets his hands locked under the butt, puts him down.
But O'Malley didn't just back down, he shut down Yan's takedown attempts and held his own in grappling exchanges like a seasoned pro. I mean, even Merab tried to switch things up. Once he realized he couldn't hang with O'Malley on the feet, he tried to take it to the ground. But instead of doing any real damage, he only dragged the fight out to the point where he knew his cardio would eventually come into play. O'Malley handled it like a pro, demonstrating that while he's known for his striking, he's got a strong grappling game too. Besides his grappling skills, O'Malley's movement in the octagon is on another level. The guy is a nightmare to catch. He's practically untouchable, slipping and weaving with such ease that it feels like it's second nature to him. Opponents swing and miss, and by the time they realize, O'Malley is already gone, leaving them frustrated, chasing shadows. It's not just the punches he avoids, it's the way he makes fighters feel like they're always one step behind. Umar, while a solid grappler, doesn't have the same kind of cardio or intensity as Merab. Merab was able to keep up the pressure, but Umar isn't built for that kind of pace. O'Malley, on the other hand, will have learned from his loss to Merab and won't make the same mistake of letting his opponent close the distance. If Umar does manage to get a takedown, trust me, O'Malley will be more than prepared. He knows his way around the ground game and will be ready to scramble back to his feet quickly. O'Malley is a different breed altogether, a sharp, calculated sniper who adjusts his game for every opponent. He's not the type to sit back and let someone control the fight. Sure, he might end up on his back a few times against Umar, but once he's back up on his feet, it's game time. Expect to see him feint, switch stances, and keep Umar guessing with his dynamic striking. The thing with O'Malley is that as long as he can maintain the distance, Umar is in serious trouble. Unlike Merab, who managed to land a few shots but couldn't do any significant damage, O'Malley has that knockout ability. A spinning head kick from O'Malley is always in the air somewhere, and if it lands, well, it might just be game over. If a match ever happens between the two, it's going to be an absolutely incredible matchup, and if that fight does go down, well, you already got the spoiler.